In at 10, false conviction. On an old timeline video, Shauna S. commented, quote, "Quick little theory. You know how in the first game it says the killer was convicted for the murders? If that's the case, I think Henry was falsely convicted, but since they couldn't find the bodies, he got 25 to 30 years and got out of prison when Fazbear Frights happened. It explains to me why he wasn't involved in the first few games. I will say I've heard a lot of different information concerning the missing children's incident, so my theory could be wrong, just wanted to put it out there." Honestly, Henry being falsely imprisoned, or at least falsely accused for the missing children's incident does explain a lot. Considering how there were no bodies though, there wouldn't be much forensic evidence. So the case would rely on circumstantial evidence to get a conviction. So the case could have dragged on for a while if it even went to trial. And if it was, it probably would have been going on until 1993 when the future Fazbear Frights location closed with William inside. 30 years is a lot of time for new evidence to come to light as well, and maybe Henry got out even earlier than that but didn't act until William was freed because he didn't really see a point. Well, the whole he was convicted thing could be explained away by Scott not thinking that there would be another game, let alone like 9 others. Maybe he just wanted to have the story of the killer end as well. Who knows? In at 9, the 4th child. Okay, I've proposed the idea that perhaps William and his wife, or baby mama, but most likely for this scenario, wife, would have had 4 kids instead of the 3 that we see in game. This was actually mostly based off The Immortal and the Restless, the TV series from Sister Location, where a woman is telling a character most assumed was meant to represent William that he had a son that was clearly his, but he was denying it. And after looking at genetics and then trying to explain it to people in my life who didn't really understand, it just goes to show how likely the actual scenario is. If the babies came out blonde like Elizabeth, William might just have thought that they weren't his. So what if later William realized that the baby was his and wanted her back? Or perhaps I'm wrong about the whole he denied it thing, and it was just a theory, until a comment from YouTube user Saber Sapphire on the Tiny Details Part 7 video from ages ago. I think we can all agree that Clara is an allegory for Mrs. Afton, and that William made Ballora as a way to cope with her loss. We can also agree that she's a mother figure to the Mini-Renas, and that's what got us all thinking that she was meant to be the mother in the first place, aside from her song at least. Well, Saber pointed out that the number of Mini-Renas that Ballora has is 4. Ballora has 4 children, and if she is meant to represent the mother of the Afton kids, this detail could solidify this theory even more. And maybe, just maybe, that's where Vanessa came from. And at 7, explosive ending. William dies in The Man in Room 1280, alright, the 3rd story from the 5th Fazbear Frights book. Quite extravagantly, from what we're told. He explodes into a pile of mush right before a pastor's eyes. So, how is that possible? How could William just explode like that? It's not something that you really think about, but I have quite an explanation. William knew about possession and how it happened, alright? He knew about agony after his daughter got scooped and then his son got crunched. So, what if he tried to ensure his own survival by intentionally causing himself agony, injecting or installing some form of explosive inside of him that when triggered or when in the vicinity of a Fazbear warehouse or however he wants it to go off, would cause him to explode from the inside out, creating what is possibly one of the most agonizing ways to die even for the FNAF series. I mean, like, this guy was mental, even potentially injecting himself with Remnant in an effort to stay alive. So for me, it isn't out of the question that William just kind of inserted an explosive inside of him just so he could live on in a sense, despite every bit of him being gone. And at 6, Arcade Conspiracy. The Arcade Conspiracy gets its name from one of the duffel bags that you can find in FNAF Security Breach, where we learn that something seems to be kind of off about this place. Yeah, I know, something's off about the Pizzaplex, how weird. Quote from the Arcade Conspiracy note, exit interview. They are working together, the arcades. They are hiding something. The glitches. Glitch them all at the same time. Then the princess will recognize me. She's testing me. I am not yet worthy. The others are protecting it. Let me stay. I'm so close. Just one more night, please. I can save the princess. Now, it's clear that this seems to be referring to the Princess Quest games. However, it also doesn't seem like we have to glitch the Princess Quest games in order to actually get that ending. We just have to beat them and find them in order from 1 to 3. And then, boom, we save Vanny. So, what could this note really be referring to? Well, there are 3 arcade machines that seem to have mysterious glitches going on. The Balloon Boy World game that you can find in the theater in like Sun's little special hideout. Chica's Feeding Frenzy, which won't turn off even when unplugged, that you're supposed to be able to find in the bakery, and Monty's Golf A-Arcade that according to its duffel bag shouldn't be in the mini golf area but is. So, what's the deal here? Alright, what's going on with these games? We don't know because Chica's Bakery or Chica's Feeding Frenzy actually isn't implemented. We can't know. We literally can't play it. Halfway through into number 5, Dark Carnival. In the, I guess, technically still recently released FNAF spin-off game Security Breach Fury's Rage, if you go by release order and not date at least, you fight as one of the 4 Security Breach animatronics against a slew of enemies. These enemies include the Clown Springtrap skin from FNAF AR's Dark Carnival event. And not only do we see the actual character, we see the carnival in the background when the character is introduced. Clown Springtrap gets introduced in the 2nd level to the game, and while scrolling through the street, whenever the background isn't blocked by buildings or a fence or something, in the middle you can actually see the top of a tent, which is no doubt meant to be the carnival. Like, I don't know, okay? I don't know why there are so many Clown Springtraps there either, okay? I don't get it. Like, why are they after us? I also don't know. And why we never see Magician Mangle or Ringmaster Foxy is another question, but it's still a nice little detail nonetheless, alright? I played through the game on the channel a while back, and I had a good time. I was finally able to wail on the animatronics that had caused me so much pain. So, it was definitely a freeing experience. In it for coffee. In FNAF VR Help Wanted, you can see multiple animatronics. Obviously, that's kind of the main point of the game. However, the most interesting one, at least in my opinion, is the secret animatronic of Coffee, which isn't even an animatronic from the FNAF series. It's actually from another one of Scott's games which failed, like every other game before FNAF, unfortunately. But hey, at least FNAF was successful. It's Coffee, and the game from which Coffee hails is called Desolate Hope, and in that game, Coffee is an autonomous service robot designed to tend to the needs of nearby humans. It's basically just a sentient coffee machine that actually makes coffee. Welcome to Yog Labs. Coffee can be seen in Five Nights 3 if you reload the level enough times, and it will just be sitting on your desk, unable to be interacted with, and won't actually make you coffee, which sucks, because when I'm freaking out, because, you know, a 60-year-old dude trapped in an animatronic is coming after me, coffee would actually probably help, but I'll definitely also need it if I'm working from 12 to 6 a.m., right? Like, that's for damn sure. Imagine FNAF, but it's like real time and you had to do those 6 hours and you were only able to play it at midnight. Getting close to the end in number 3, Crash to Desktop. Golden Freddy is the most mysterious animatronic of FNAF 1, okay? Being able to move through closed doors while staying limp with no endoskeleton and can even cause hallucinations like It's Me and Eyeless Bonnie along with changing posters on the frickin' walls. I originally figured that they could do all this because of other emotions, but why would they crash us to the desktop when they jump scare us? It's a weird moment, especially the first time, but it's certainly going to crash you whenever you get killed by this freaky fiend, so it definitely means something. But this does have bigger implications than we originally thought, since now the series is about video games interacting with the real world apparently, and even FNAF World actually had those themes, setting up clock clues for the FNAF 3 good ending, but this is the first instance of FNAF interacting with kind of reality, and it's our reality, like not the in-game reality that we would assume. Maybe. Because, you know what? This also happens with Nightmare in FNAF 4. So my thinking was, is this symbolic of death? And you know what? Since Golden Freddy is more than likely just a hallucination, be sure you check out the video on that over there if you want more about it. Could this just be symbolic of like your brain or your heart giving out under intense stress? I think so. That's it, yeah. Penultimately, in number 2, Hanging Scientists. The sister location Hanging Scientists weren't there before they're revealed to us, because it's meant to show us that Ennard is able to kill and is willing to kill anyone to get his way. But that also means that there were other people working here while we were there during sister location. I don't know why there were, since it was literally filled with deadly animatronics and the only reason we were sent there was to put her back together like William had somehow asked us to do. But like, why were there other people there? Was the business still running? Is that what Chica's Party World was? Because like, we know that they had been renting out animatronics, but why were there so many still there? Especially when they were only used for like a day. I mean, like, we know why Baby wasn't rented out, but the others? I don't know, it's weird, but hey, I'm not here to judge how someone runs their business, but also that's exactly what I've been doing with every new FNAF list recently, okay? Just blasting William and Henry for their various OSHA and just human decency violations, so yeah. An intense scrap trap. FNAF Fury's Rage was probably the most fun I've had while playing a FNAF game. No scares, no intense lore to figure out, only a few bits here and there. One of those bits was the inclusion of Scrap Trap laying on the ground as presented in the FNAF 6 loading screen. The character is interactable and doesn't move, but this begs the question, is this where he was left? Is this the alley that we see him in FNAF 6? And if it is, was the Dark Carnival behind it as it is presented in this game? Either way, whether it is or not, it's a cool Easter egg and serves as further confirmation that the FNAF AR animatronics are canonical within the main game lore. Unless it's in a different spot, then maybe they aren't. Or maybe this is where he was before going to the FNAF 6 location since Henry had to lure him there. I don't know. It can give some implications though. It would be nice to get anything confirmed as canon at this point though, honestly. And at 9, 1985. The security panel code of 1985 from Sister Location revealing images of the FNAF 4 house is not a new thing. This has been known for ages and was used by many to confirm the events of FNAF 4 taking place in 1985. But this begs the question, where did these rooms come from? If this does confirm the events of that game taking place in 1985, why are the houses that we play in during the 8-bit and main gameplay so different? It could be an illusion since we know the animatronics are, but if that was the case, how would the cameras be seeing that? And if these are two different houses, why? And what does that mean for the series overall? Hell, where is the parents' bedroom in the 8-bit house? There is a locked door in the living room, but is that the room? And even if it was, where's the plush trap hall? This is one thing that has always bothered me about that game, honestly. And like, I know, right? Really, out of all things that bother me, that? Yes, it is. And it 8 secret animatronics. While not being the main feature of any minigame, the mini arenas actually appear in FNAF VR Help Wanted, in the Plush Trap Darkroom. When loading into the game, you have a chance to see them in one of the doors. This is probably just a distraction tactic used to make things more difficult so you're more likely to get jump scared, but it's still damn well going to work, because it's such a rare thing that I want to look at it more and more. And you can also encounter a Biddy Bap doll in Babies minigame, you know, the one where you need to close the closet doors in the FNAF 4 house, but not for too long, otherwise the plush babies are gonna kill you. Yeah, you can see Biddy Bap near the door on rare occasions, and honestly, it's just kinda freaky. Also, can I just say, that minigame must suck for anyone with pediophobia, which is the fear of dolls. Just solidifies everything that you fear. I still have to beat that game though. Like, I think I'm prepared to play it for a video or a live stream, what have you, but then it actually starts and I instantly regret my decision to put myself in that situation. Like, even if it was to find those animatronics, just no. Instant regret. And at 7, Springtrap's Revenge. Yet another questionable business decision from Fazbear Entertainment. Springtrap's Revenge is a VR game that is the subject of the Fazbear Fright story in the flesh from Bunny Call, the 5th book in the series. The story revolves around a game theorist, a developer named Matt, who creates a Springtrap AI using all of his anger from a divorce and multiple failed relationships. #relatable. However, the game is too difficult, so instead Matt reprograms the game to torture Springtrap because he gets mad at the character he created. My question is though, why would they make a whole VR game around surviving Springtrap when he was a real life serial killer in their reality? I don't get it. Like, sure, in our world we wouldn't care, cause he's not real, but it's not like Valve or Stress Level Zero is making a Ted Bundy or like John Wayne Gacy survival game, okay? Because that would be in poor taste. And way too real for anyone related to the victims of those killers. So, why would Fazbear Entertainment willingly make a video game revolving around the killer that ruined their reputation in the first place, not to mention was their CEO? It seems like a horrible idea. And it has greater implications for just how the series is in general. It's stupid. Why? Who would buy that? Probably everyone. And it's 6, Mediocre Melodies. Okay, now this isn't entirely new news, or news at all at this point, but we learned the origins of the Mediocre Melodies crew, alright? What seemed like random additions in FNAF 6 were actually set up 3 games earlier. FNAF 3's Night 4 Phone Calls has Phone Guy talking about multiple and simultaneous springlock failures occurring at a sister location. This isn't the place that we visit in that game, but rather just another Fazbear location, where he says that, quote, the company has deemed the suits temporarily unfit for employees, and that the classic suits are being retired to an appropriate location while being looked at by our technician. Until replacement arrives, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness and relevance should be deflected. And while that could have been just some like crappy knockoff Frank Fazbear costumes from AliExpress or from like Spirit Halloween, the line of questions about relevance should be deflected seems to point that they aren't the normal Fazbear crew. And you know what? That would be the mediocre melodies. I mean, come on, his name is Ned Bear. Also, if you're enjoying this video and want to see more FNAF, because I know you all want to, you all love when we talk about FNAF, and none of you think that we're doing it too much, be sure you hit like and subscribe, because come on, it's fun. I yell a lot. It's my whole thing. Halfway through into number 5, MatPat is canon, kinda. Thanks to the Fazbear Frights book Bunny Call, and more so, like I said, the story in the flesh, MatPat is basically canon in the FNAF universe. Like sure, it's kinda nuts that in essence Scott wrote an Mpreg fanfic about MatPat, but the crazier thing is that it makes MatPat canon in FNAF, technically, since his name isn't Matthew Patrick, and he's working on a new FNAF game, not a new FNAF theory, but he's basically MatPat's in-universe stand-in, alright? Like, while game theory or Daco may not be canon, the essence of MatPat is canon, and he ended up getting killed by a plush trap baby that crawled his way out of his stomach. Yeah, I haven't finished that story, and I don't think I ever will because I was cringing so hard, but I don't understand how working on a video game turns into an animatronic crawling out of your stomach, killing you instantly, but hey, it's FNAF, and we've had people be possessed by video games, so who knows at this point? Anything is fair game. And you know what, if Choo Choo Charles shows up, that's just par for the course. And this is also yet another instance of someone escaping from a game and entering the real world, and I don't want to deal with that. And there's also the one instance of someone saying it's just a theory, and then the book pointing out that they say it like their favorite YouTuber. So yeah, MatPat and game theory are canon in the FNAF world. Or maybe game theory is like a true crime theory podcast where the host at the end says it's just a theory to avoid any legal issues. Also, fun fact, I didn't know what Mpreg fanfic meant until I had to look it up for this video. My sister told me. I was ashamed. In at 4, Cover Shadow. A while ago, I purchased the Freddy Files Updated Edition book, okay, in an effort to get more details and really find what things seem to be the most important about the series. It's an excellent place to find confirmed details, but one thing I noticed a while after getting the book was that there's a shadow on the front cover. If you look closely, or if you just actually can see what's going on, unlike me, you can actually make out the shape of a Freddy standing behind you, which I have to say is pretty damn terrifying, because this implies that basically anyone who learns about the Fazbear secrets because of this book, which is prevented like secret files on the cover, will get got by Freddy. Yeah, this makes me think that there is certainly something more to this company, definitely something more shady that we weren't considering or aren't considering or that just hadn't been presented yet. But it's still, it might not be that deep, but let's be honest, it's Scott, it probably is. So yeah, this one cover shadow shows us that Fazbear Entertainment is ready to silence anyone who learns too much for any reason, which is why I'm still alive. Getting close to the end in a number 3, Hospital Room. One of the common theories about what was going on in FNAF 4 is that what we were experiencing is in the mind of Crying Child, who is laying in the hospital because of a bite and who will die at the end of the game. This theory was first brought on by the Easter eggs of an IV, a vase of flowers, and a jar of pills that can be visible next to the child's bed when the screen is brightened. Because we all know how much we loved to brighten screens. And now we're digging through source code and linking details in books. My, how far we've come. Getting kids to actually read. The vase, flowers, and IV are no doubt referencing the idea that we are truly waiting in the hospital and in a coma trying to cheat death. And thanks to the flatline we hear at the end of the game, however, we know we either don't succeed or are taken off the machine. This led to the idea that the whole game series is a dream, which was proven false thanks to the joke April Fool's Day mechanics of Nightmare Fredbear and Ultimate Custom Night. And at 2, VR Sisters. The VR Sisters, as far as I know, were introduced into the FNAF series in Security Breach Fury's Rage. They're the bosses of Stage 1 and are fought again in Stage 3 as regular enemies. But my question is, who are they? They don't have names, they don't talk, they don't do anything other than fight us, but they wear VR headsets and have a kinda similar theme to the FNAF AR arcade animatronic skins, you know, VR Toy Freddy and High Score Chica being the most like this, and I mean like the blue and yellow grid patterns they have going on their arms and legs, but that could also just be leggings and sleeves and not their actual body. The thing is, we don't know who they are, if they're human or if they're animatronic, and at this point it's up for debate and I don't even know if it matters in the long run. It could totally be for nothing. These characters could mean nothing to the story. We could see them in the full security breach or they could fade away into nothing. It bothers me. Clearly. And at 10, Ruin. We know that the main title of the DLC is going to be Ruin. Now, whether this will be referencing my opinion of the series or the actual state of the Pizzaplex is unknown, but based on the poster, it's possibly both, because the Pizzaplex looks absolutely destroyed. The Freddy statue from the lobby is in pieces, and there is plenty of rubble all over the ground, and you can see the walls next to the escalators are actually pretty banged up. It's not clear if this is exactly how the lobby will look, since this is just an illustration, not a screenshot from the game, but it is still possible. They could design the damage around this poster, or they could have taken a screenshot and then had someone illustrate it instead, which is entirely possible. But given that this is going to be released in 2023, I doubt that they have stuff made properly for it. They may still be working out the storyline at this stage. And at 9, Free. The name of the DLC may be Ruin, but I'm damn glad it won't ruin my wallet. Especially when the main game was oddly enough in ruins and still cost me $50. And this was before I started buying cheap frozen meals to feed myself, so I was pretty broke. But honestly, I'm pretty glad that this DLC is free, especially with the amount of mods that are probably going to come from it. And it's also probably an attempted apology from Steel Wool since, like I said, the original game was so busted and unfinished when it originally came out. Did you know that despite being incomplete, the original game uncompressed was 86 gigabytes? That's a bigger game size than Skyrim, for God's sakes. That's around the game size, or like a file size, or maybe even a little more than Grand Theft Auto 5. That's absolutely insane. And now it's around 62 uncompressed, which is nicer, and it's 41 compressed. But still, goddamn, that's a lot for not that big of a game when you really think about it. And at 8, 2023. Yes, as I said earlier, the DLC will not be releasing until 2023, which is unfortunate, but it could actually be a good thing. Firstly, it gives me at least another 8 months of DLC themed content before it actually releases, if it is released in January and then the hype dies down for it. But it could also mean that the DLC will be even bigger and better than any previous one, like adding just a couple of more nightmare animatronics or a couple of more levels. However, this also raises the question of, is this the case, or are they just taking their sweet time because all of this is a free DLC? Like, can we really expect to play something huge for free? I doubt it. Like, the only reason it might be free though is because it's affiliated with Scott. But after Scott stepping down, I don't really know how Steel Wool would handle this kind of thing if they were doing it on their own, so I can't really say for sure. And it's 7, 87 days. This is fairly well known at this point, but there are some of you who are new fans to the series and don't quite understand how crazy this is. The first FNAF game was released on August 8th, 2014, a day after my friend's birthday nearly 8 years ago. That game was a hit after being discovered by MapHead as well, who really introduced many of us, if not most of us, to the series. The game did end up getting a sequel, obviously in the form of the FNAF 2 prequel, which was released on November 11th, 2014. While you may not understand the intensity of that is hella quick for a game to be made from the start, even with the existing mechanics already in place, especially with all the new things we got in that game. However, the game was released 87 days after the first, which to anyone who knows the slightest bit of FNAF lore will instantly have alarms go off. 87 days? Like the bite of 87? Yes, exactly. That's just absolutely bonkers. Not only did he make the game within that time, but he released it perfectly. I still don't know if it's a coincidence, but knowing Scott, this is the first in a long series of lore teasers and hints, and I find that absolutely astounding. And at 6, the box. The FNAF 4 box has, like the bite of 87, been a pain in the ass to all FNAF fans. And those who try to explain things have been struggling for a while to explain what could be inside the infamous box. However, FNAF 6 might have given us the answer that we were looking for with its final speech. Henry's final speech from the true ending of that game. Take a look.
That you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near.
Did you see it? The layout of the FNAF 6 pizzeria is oddly similar to the layout of the FNAF 4 box. And stories from Candy Cadet talking about 5 things becoming one thing and then getting put into a box makes sense with this as well. 5 animatronics, however you want to count it. Baby, Scrab Trap, Molten Freddy, the Puppet and Lefty, or Molten Freddy is most of them. However it works out, even if you include your character, 5 things are becoming one fire in the smoke that is Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. While William may have escaped, Henry sticks around. Maybe that's what the box is meant to represent. The box being reality and William being able to escape from it, become a freaking virus, and then infect people's brains. Who knows, really? No, seriously, tell me who knows, because I need to know. Halfway through into number 5, The Job. Going off this FNAF 6 existentialism, who was the job meant for? In that same speech, we hear Henry talk about us finding the job even though it wasn't meant for us, and that there was a way out for us planned even though we don't want it. But him saying that it wasn't meant for us implies that there was someone who it was meant for. But who? If it was just anyone, he wouldn't have said that it wasn't meant for us, because it wasn't meant for anyone. Him saying that implies there was someone specific that he had in mind for this task, but who was it? Does Henry have a son, and he was going to use the speech at the end to say goodbye rather than scold the animatronics? Or was it meant for someone he trusts, perhaps his wife if she's still around? I like the idea that it's his son, who we never ended up seeing, but why wouldn't he just ask him instead of putting the ad out normally? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know down below. In at 4, El Chip. In the Security Breach GeForce RTX trailer, we see many things, from the back rooms to the food court. And in that food court, we see a shot of its Mexican restaurant, with a statue of El Chip from FNAF 6 on the left, some cacti decorating the place, some air hockey tables in the back, presumably some other arcade games as well. That's probably the Fazcade so that the kids can play while the parents finish eating. But we also see animatronics fly past us as they go off to serve some food. But as they pass us, we see an arcade game having something to do with El Chip in the bottom left of the screen. I can't quite tell what the game is, all I could make out is El Chip, but it should be some form of pinball or something, based on the shape of the machine at least. If you didn't already know though, El Chip is a Mexican themed beaver animatronic and is the mascot of El Chip's Fiesta Buffet in the Fazbear universe, and is a purchasable animatronic in FNAF 6's catalog. He will actually interrupt you with advertisements for his restaurant and Ultimate Custom Night, where you will need to mute him before alerting sound-sensitive animatronics, and the character is presumably based on Chipper from Chipper & Sons Lumber Co., another one of Scott's games, where the idea of FNAF actually originated because someone said the characters looked animatronic. Nice little homage. Getting close to the end into number 3, Busted Chica. Now, when I make jokes about rearranging Chica's guts, this is not what I meant. Yes, that's right, my main girl Chica also makes an appearance on this poster as probably the most resilient animatronic in the group, because she's still kicking despite being crushed by a trash compactor and then a building and still having most of her smoking hot bod. Some of it was removed and cracked, but her face also has seemingly melted due to possibly the fire we were using to kill Burn Trap, or maybe just because a fire started in the kitchen when the building collapsed. She's also lost the lower half of her left arm, her left, not your left, remember that, don't make my mistake, and she's also lost her right leg warmer. The casing for her midriff and her right arm is gone, but other than that, she's fairly intact, at least compared to Monty. Also, interestingly enough, only Chica's white face melted, meaning that it looks like someone, spilt frosting all over her face. I guess that takes the term busted to a whole new level. But ultimately, in at number 2, Help Me. Very reminiscent of the Save Them minigame from the earlier FNAF games, I'm pretty sure it's FNAF 2. You can see Gregory's face on the bottom left monitor with the phrase "Help Me" underscore written in green lettering. This seems to me to indicate that we may have a potential plot idea brewing where we need to save Gregory and Freddy after the collapse of the Pizzaplex, but we know that Gregory and Freddy sit on the hill in the final shot alone in the true ending, meaning that if we do end up having to save him, our player character will most likely die in the process. This also means that we will not be playing as Gregory, but more on that in a moment. The underscore here could also be another indication of Gregory being a robot, but it could also potentially just be a reference to a file within the main game or within the DLC that could contain some secret information. But I have no idea if that's true, that's just speculation for the time being. I'm gonna have to look in through the actual Security Breach game files before the game comes out to see if there was an update that added one of those files, since underscores are primarily used for putting spaces in file names without actually needing spaces. Or it just could be that we need help in this case. Finally, in at number 1, Blondie. We do also see a new character on this poster, one we have never seen before. The little blonde girl holding the flashlight that is illuminating this entire scene. She's short, blonde, and wearing light up Skechers like the girl boss she is. But she is also presumably our player character given that she is front and center. Now as to whether whether we are looking for Gregory or if Gregory is looking for us is one thing, but I have a slightly wild idea that could help explain. The pigtails is very reminiscent of Baby, but this girl has blonde hair. And while we may not be able to see her face, I think that she may also have green eyes, because anyone with blonde hair makes me instantly think of Elizabeth Afton, who gets grabbed by Baby in 1983 and goes on to possess the animatronic. Now, given that we've made the comparisons of Gregory to Crying Child in the past, and the very familiar nature of this blonde girl, I think I have a reason why all these children have gone missing. Because they look like the original Afton children. Think about it. This girl looks a lot like the middle silhouette from the original Missing Children's article in The Worst Ending for Security Breach, and the rest of these children look similar to each other, at least using their silhouettes, because that's all we really have. Plus, look at her light up Skechers, okay? Red and purple lights. I'm sorry, but when have we seen purple and it hasn't been an indication of Afton? Plus, the red is exactly like Vanny's eyes. This has to be one of the 9 missing children, right? That got released thanks to the collapse of the Pizzaplex? Like, come on. That has to be it. And 10, the house. The FNAF 4 house is one of the most iconic houses of all time. Okay, probably not true, but it's the most iconic house in FNAF at least. And we only get to see it in FNAF 4, at least that's what we thought, until the Curse of Dreadbear DLC for FNAF VR Help Wanted came out. In that DLC's main hub, where we select the minigame we want to play, or in my case, have to play, we can see 2 hills in the distance. Whenever there isn't a giant Dreadbear looking over you, you can see a house on the hills. Very similar to how we see the house in FNAF 4 screens. Not only that, but if you turn the game to blacklight mode, press the button on the monitor and then turn around to look at the car behind you for 10 to 15 seconds, you can see Glitch Trap dancing on the hill next to the house. Well, on the other hill. And since people were confused about who Glitch Trap was, this is probably Scott's way of showing that the FNAF 4 house is his and that Glitch Trap is William Afton. But we all know that now 100% thanks to the man in room 1280 from the Fazbear Frights book in the flesh. And at 8, Eyeless animatronics. FNAF 1 has the famous Eyeless Bonnie screen that can appear during hallucinations or when you die. However, I know some of you may not be aware that FNAF 2 actually has a similar screen, along with 2 others. Yes, FNAF 2 has 3 eyeless animatronic screens, all with a 1 in 1,000 chance of appearing. These being Eyeless Toy Bonnie, Eyeless Freddy, and Eyeless Foxy. It's interesting how Bonnie is the only animatronic to have 2 eyeless versions, and Chica doesn't have one at all. I don't know how this applies to the lore, if at all, or if they're just hallucinations that Scott added to make us look for more mysteries within the hallowed halls of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, but it literally is. But it's the only animatronic that doesn't have an eyeless version. It's Chica. That's kind of interesting. Maybe it's because she was the first and has seen everything. Haha, so she has to have eyes because she's seen everything. And it's 7, Vanny Cam. We can also see 6 monitors on the poster which have multiple images of security cameras and Gregory on them. Across the 6 monitors there are 4 total images that appear, with the bottom 2 being the odd ones out and the 4 above that being 2 different images. One of Gregory looking surprised and another of Vanny looking at the security camera that's glitching out. Very reminiscent of the iconic Bigfoot image that's very blurry where he's walking like this. And I think that this is actually one of Scott's clever tricks, like how he used the keypad and sister location to tell us that Crying Child and FNAF 4 take place in 1983. I think that Scott or Steel Wool is doing the same thing with this poster. By glitching Vanny out on screen, they're showing us that either A, Vanny was the entity that Gregory was talking to that was mentioned in the therapy tapes, or B, that Gregory having his vision glitch out when she is nearby is due to Gregory being a robot. It could be either, but it could also be both, considering how these are both next to pictures of Gregory looking surprised, and they're on both sides of the screen. 2 pictures, 2 eyes. This is the real 2-eye theory. And at 6, brightness. As always, the first thing you do when you see any FNAF promo art or any image that's related to FNAF at all, you go and brighten it to find more details or maybe even some secrets. And the first thing that I noticed is that there aren't any question marks on this poster. Thank God. But there's also quite a few things that got revealed to me. Firstly, at the top there are actually 2 windows on the poster instead of the one that just seems to show up in the original. These windows also look like they are angry eyes, which could indicate an overarching villain. There are also a very faint set of eyes in the top right corner as well, aside not including the ones on the left that are clearly visible, but the ones on the right could just be an anomaly since they are very faint. And I also see that the girl in the middle doesn't have any color on her aside from her shoes. More on that later. And the floor also cuts off at the bottom, but the rocks on top of them don't. Mostly because at this point the ground has pretty much faded into black, but the rocks would still kind of be visible. But seriously, this girl is in black and white. Halfway through, and at number 5, collapse. One of the big questions we, or at the very least I, had after Security Breach was what part of the Pizzaplex collapsed after the cave-in during the true ending. And it was really up in the air whether it was the entire Pizzaplex or just Roxy's Raceway. I guess they kinda left it that way depending on what they wanted to do. But this poster and the title confirms that the Pizzaplex itself is in ruins. The whole place is a ruin. The giant Freddy statue from the lobby is destroyed and there's rubble everywhere. There are still some questions, of course, like it is just an illustration after all. How's the rest of the Pizzaplex doing, for instance? What happened to the other animatronics? What's the main goal of this DLC? But while the latter may have been answered thanks to another detail from the poster, I don't think we'll have any answers for a while. The DLC doesn't come out until next year, which is absolutely insane, but at least it's free. And at 4, eyes. And while Gregory's eyes may be robotic, there's another set that I would like to point out in this Security Breach Ruins poster. The red eyes in the top left corner of the screen. Now, this is very clearly Vanny, but since I've seen a few people get confused by this, let me explain why. The eyes are red, which we only really see Vanny have, since Burntrap's eyes glow purple, and the animatronic eyes don't really glow. We also know that Vanny might have been able to survive the collapse due to her being controlled by Afton, but also because she was able to be on the roof before us when the fire starts in the rooftop ending. I mean, she gets pushed off the roof by Freddy, but we know that she was up there before us somehow, so I'm sure that she would have found a way around a collapse. Plus, if she's on the security cameras and the other showcased person is Gregory, who we know is alive, it just makes sense for Vanny to be alive. Plus again, red eyes. And they're in a similar position to where Vanny was placed in her first poster appearance as the Shadow. You know, like the one where Freddy's rocking out and then there's like a bunny chick with a knife that we were like, who's that? Yeah, it's in roughly the same area. It's not in the same place exactly, but it's in the same vicinity. And at 2, Game Link. This Easter egg was pointed out by MatPat in one of his timeline videos for Ultimate Custom Night, where he started the video spending 10 minutes downloading a fresh copy of both FNAF World and Ultimate Custom Night so that nothing had been unlocked yet. In FNAF World, you are able to dive deep into the game code and visit Old Man Consequences, who will say some things and then ultimately make you drown yourself before you can get out. This reveals a secret ending to the game and gives you a trophy for it. In Ultimate Custom Night, you are also able to visit Old Man Consequences, who tells you to leave the demon to his demons and rest your own soul. However, if you do this, you'll need to drown yourself again to leave the game. Doing this, while never even playing a second of FNAF World though, will unlock the Old Man Consequences trophy, which is odd, but might be Scott's way of saying that the game is still canon. I mean, it did talk about sentient code, and that things in-game can infect the real world, since you lay out the clues for FNAF 3, probably hinting at the fact that the game may be key in solving what the lore is going forward, since we're seeing the same sorts of things emerge. Sentient code, games affecting the outside world, and potentially working its way into ours. Finally, and at number 1, it's me. There are only 2 people who have been able to get this Easter egg to my knowledge, and it involves getting the Curse of Dreadbear DLC and completing a game to be taken to the Victory Barn. There you will find 3 posters reminiscent of the ones from the Alleyway and Pizzeria Simulator. However, this is where the ability to unlock this Easter egg is determined. You need to get 3 clown posters, which is incredibly rare, and I mean incredibly rare. Plus, you need to hit them all with darts, which you only get 4 of, and if you miss 2 of them, you're screwed. I've looked for this Easter egg for hours on both my personal channel during live streams and on the live stream on this channel from before the previous lockdown, since I want to find this myself, and I want to so badly, since if you manage to do this, the barn changes to a seemingly black-like version, where the victory banner changes to read "It's me," and everything starts glowing because of the black light. YouTubers Johnny Blocks and apparently Dawko are the only 2 to have gotten this Easter egg from what I've seen and what I've been told in the comments. Not even MatPat was able to get this, and Eddie VR wasn't really trying. I may have to keep live streaming the game until I find it, but it's going to take me a while, I'm sure, and emotional torment. But this series already does that. And at 10, Security Room. In the shot of the security room where Gregory stands after all the cameras shut off, we see the screens flickering static as if they were unable to show video. However, a closer look actually reveals that these cameras are showing images in the static. Some contrast and brightness tinkering can reveal a slightly clearer picture, but we can't be exactly sure of what it is. To me, it looks like a really blurry version of the supply closet from FNAF 1, at least one of them does. I have a feeling that the glitches are versions of cameras from previous games, and I wouldn't put it past Scott. There are other images that are really blurry, like really low quality ultrasounds, but if you have any ideas as to what these secret images can be, let me know down below. And at 9, Vanny glitches. During the scenes focusing on the individual animatronics on the elevator, there is text that shows up between each shot. These say when fear takes hold and reality fails, the stage is set and insanity prevails. Each line of text glitches onto the screen, but within those glitches are hidden images of the antagonist of this game, none other than Vanny, the reluctant follower of William Afton. There are two images that are shown, one of her looking to the left and the other of her looking towards the center. The eyes that linger over these glitches also always appear above her head. Having these images be glitches on the screen obviously is a reference to Glitch Trap, and having eyes above her head is symbolic of being watched. So could Glitch Trap be watching her through these animatronics, making sure she's doing her job? They all have red eyes after all. Only time will tell. And it is Shadow Bonnie. During the scene where we see the first alcove containing the animatronics, we see Chica rocking on her guitar. Firstly, this appears to be the home of the animatronics while they're not working or during the night. But no matter how dumb that is from an AI perspective, there is another thing that is slightly odd about this little room. There seems to be some form of microphone or perhaps some other electronic attached to her desk that, while having a light directly on it, is still pitch black. It is also in the rough shape of Shadow Bonnie as they appeared in FNAF 2. It's not perfect, but it's still noticeable if you're looking for it. This could be a coincidence or a nice nod to a character that will be appearing in this game, like how Scott made Chica's party world for Sister Location. And at 6, Lolbit Butters. While the name of the number may entice anyone who is sad that the Brawler game was not called Furry's Rage, this is not about any interaction with Lolbit to make butter. Rather, in fact, in FNAF VR we can collect coins that we use to unlock various prizes at the prize counter. Upon collecting all of the coins, an exotic Butters basket will appear on the counter. On the bottom of the basket lies a button for some unknown reason. When pressed, however, you can see Lolbit's screen appear on the monitor up and to the left of the prize counter. It's unknown why this happens, but it's still pretty cool and something not everyone will know about unless they watched someone play through the whole game and collected everything or have done so themselves. But I guess most of you will have either watched or done it yourselves. And there is at least one person who has clicked off this video at this point because it wasn't about Lolbit's butter. Halfway through it at number 5, Secret Poster. This is so secret even I don't know what it looks like, and I can't find any answers or images on Google. The FNAF VR DLC has a barn as its victory screen whenever you complete a game. When you win, you're brought to this barn, basically. However, there are 3 posters that can be one of 3 things, and in the distance there is a 4th secret poster that never changes. But you can't really get a good look at it without boundary breaking. And since I can't do that, I'm forced to remain trying to squint and see what it looks like. I think it has to be some version of Chica for sure. Yo, what is that poster? Is that Chica or something? I think that's Chica. This has been bugging me for so long that I actually might have to get the mod so I can move around just so I can know. It's not lore solving and it's not really that important, but it's a hidden detail that is still hidden to me. It bothers me to my core. And at 4, Radioactive. No, I'm not singing Imagine Dragons. I'm talking about another FNAF AR animatronic. This time talking about Radioactive Foxy from the Wasteland event, I believe it's called. This skin for Foxy makes him glow bright green and gives him a second hook on his right hand, as if he had 2 heads because radiation mutates things. Get it? Well, the character also has a radioactive symbol on him, and I don't care how crazy this world is, there is no way an animatronic got that symbol put on them with radiation. It's an animatronic, not an organic being. So even the 2 hooks would be impossible naturally, meaning that this character was created to be radioactive, and that's probably the scariest thing of all. At least Fazbear Entertainment is doing something normal companies do, like dumping toxic waste into animatronics or something like that. This seems more normal than sending out versions of your killer to homes with families inside. With all they've done, it's nice to see them do some actual normal company things. Gotta love capitalism. That's just proper grammar. Get it? Because capital letters? No, just me? Okay. Getting close to the end in number 3, Staff Only. Near the end of the trailer, before the security breach logo, we see Vanny pop out from behind a door labeled Staff Only, indicating that she is a staff member. But why is staff an acronym? The term staff is used in many different ways, as a plural noun, adjective, and even a verb. But none of those uses use the term like an acronym. In fact, when I searched for the acronym, even with quotation marks, nothing came up. So this is definitely something odd. What could this acronym stand for? And is there actually a meaning behind it, or is Scott just giving us a red herring? Let me know your theories down below. Penultimately in number 2, Purple. The color purple is everywhere in this trailer, no doubt a connection to the purple guy himself, William Afton. The trailer starts off with him speaking, and then he is present throughout the whole trailer. There is purple in nearly every shot, and if there isn't, it's a color that makes purple, blue or red. Plenty of the neon lights are purple. Purple is a common secondary color throughout the Pizzaplex. Even the logo that shines on the wall is purple. Chica's playpen has plenty of purple. The Pizzaplex alcoves have purple. Chica's guitar is purple. Roxanne's leg warmers are either a dark purple or blue, but she's also wearing a red shirt. Monty's gloves and shoes are purple. The only animatronic that doesn't seem to have purple on them is Freddy. Maybe this indicates that he isn't under Afton's control. Everything in this trailer for the most part is related to the color purple. The logo is red and the text is glowing blue. Not to mention the ending with, finally, and at number 1, the arm. The final shot of this trailer is clearly a reference to William Afton. I know you noticed that, but what you might have missed, however, is the reflecting purple light that we can see in the reflection of his arm, throwing any theory that this is the Stitch Wraith out the window. At least, maybe. The arm also appears to have been melted at some point, or has had something melted onto it, like flesh perhaps, or the remains of a suit that caught fire after being lured there by your son and your former business partner. And at 10, the real protagonist. Orville the Elephant in Ultimate Custom Night is one of the animatronics that's pretty memeable. Like, not as memeable as some of his counterparts perhaps, but he does give us a lot of information if you are paying attention. Take this one line from Ultimate Custom Night for example. He tried to release you, he tried to release us, but I won't let that happen. I will keep you here, I will hold you here, no matter how many times they burn us. But like, wait, hold on a second. If this is really the voice of the one you should not have killed, whether you consider that Cassidy or Crying Child, then why would he say he tried to release you, he tried to release us? Henry was the one who tried to release William in FNAF 6, and if you want to assume that it's Cassidy, we know that the one Cassidy is referring to, since they said I won't let that happen, would have to be Henry, because that's the one who released William. So, could it be that we've been playing as Henry this whole time with the exception of Sister Location and FNAF 4? I mean, like, we don't really release any souls in Sister Location, right? That would then mean that Henry was Mike Schmidt, and that the Mike who owned the logbook could be Henry, or I guess would be Henry, and then that we'd be reading it as Michael Afton? Man, that's a whole load of messed up. I don't want to deal with that. Speaking of messed up, only 19% of the people who watch these videos are actually subscribed, alright? You might not know that you're not subscribed. So, do me a favor before we keep going, check the subscribe button, and if it's red, make it gray, alright? Gray is a much better color than red anyway, okay? Red is all anger. Make it gray, alright? You're welcome. And a 9, intentional glitch. Glitch Trap is an odd character, an accidental addition to FNAF VR that somehow ends up interacting with the environment and altering aspects of the game. Why? I've always questioned why Glitch Trap is able to move around the curtain and even seemingly put us in a Freddy suit at the end of the game. Like sure, he's a spirit, technically, I guess maybe, actually not even at this point since we've learned things later on, but he's still game code either way, right? And like he would have to obey the laws of being game code. Like any being must obey the laws of the form they inhabit. How is he able to move things like the curtain when I can't, alright? I'm also code in this game. I can't move the curtain. It's simple, alright? He wasn't an accident. If he was a glitch, if he was unintentional, then like how would the ending even make sense? How would he put us in the Freddy suit, okay? We wouldn't crawl in there ourselves, right? We would just walk through the curtain and like nothing would happen because we wouldn't put ourselves in the suit. Like, come on, why was there another character there? No, did Glitch Trap replace them? I don't know. No, you know what? I do know. He didn't. He was meant to be there, okay? Since you can see this ending without collecting all 16 tapes, which would mean that Glitch Trap wasn't reassembled yet. There you go. Glitch Trap was an intentional feature in FNAF VR. And it's 7 Cupcake. Also in front of that same alcove, we can see a few frames of Chica's famous cupcake in a display case, almost like it's a museum, or perhaps a memoriam to the old design of Chica that they had to abandon for this establishment, or because the fans love the cupcake and would be furious if it wasn't here in some capacity. There looks to be a plaque on the front of the display as well, indicating that maybe it's a bit of a showcase for the cupcakes and perhaps its history with the character of Chica. Maybe the Fazbear Entertainment Company is trying to push sugary foods less, or maybe they just want to get rid of the cupcakes since it was involved with a version of Chica that was possessed by the soul of a child after Afton offered them more pizza. Maybe this whole area is dedicated to ensuring the reign of Afton never comes back. Good luck with that. Someone didn't listen to him when he says he always comes back, and obviously someone didn't look at the final shot of that trailer. Halfway through at number 5, design change. This is something I didn't notice until I went into the comments of that trailer. In the summer of 2020, Funko leaked the designs of the action figures for Security Breach, thus leaking the designs of the animatronics. People were pissed about this, obviously, since Scott had specifically told Funko not to release anything. What is it with Funko and leaks? Anyway, the designs of the characters from the gameplay trailer are actually slightly different to those of the action figures that were released. This is most notable on Roxanne's clothes, where Scott moved the black star shapes, and on Monty's guitar, where he removed or made the black stripes smaller. At least from what I can see. Chica's guitar is also a lighter blue and mostly white, as opposed to white and a darker blue from the original action figure. And the animatronics in the trailer are properly proportioned. The action figure heads just weird me out. Like, the pop figures are fine because it's meant to be that way, it makes sense, but the action figures, it's weird. And at 4, Bellora's theme. Over the footage of us being shown the individual animatronics of Chica, Roxanne, and Monty, we hear some music that would potentially be triggering to fans who played Sister Location. Here's the clip. This is very reminiscent of Bellora's theme from Sister Location, not the song she sings, but rather her theme music that has no lyrics. This is more of a remixed version of the song instead of the original, but it could be a hint at something much more. Like Vanny says at the end of the trailer, there is more going on here than you realize. It then cuts to something else, and that makes us think that that's what's going on that's more, but we realize that. So what if this truly means this could be in the introduction of William Afton's wife? Bellora is used as an allegory for his wife, not being possessed. Bellora isn't possessed, but just as a mother figure to the mini-Renas and even kind of Baby if you look at it that way. And if you do, the connection only grows since Baby is possessed by Elizabeth Afton, William's daughter, or was. We don't know what happened to his wife, she has no official name. Some think she died naturally and that drove him to killing, some think William killed her, others think she ran away after learning about what William does. Maybe we will learn more about her in this game. Maybe she is indeed the security guard. Maybe her name is Vanessa. Maybe it's just because that music is creepy. Who knows? Penultimately, in at number 2, blood on the cover. The security logbook is a real point of contention for the series. Whatever, okay, I'm not talking about what's inside the book content-wise though. I'm talking about how there are literal pages covered or splattered with blood, and the restaurant just gave it to you as if nothing is wrong. What the hell happened to cause blood to get all over these pages? And then, thanks to like the finish on the book's cover, it's shiny, meaning that it's still wet, which means that it's new. And I'm prone to nosebleeds, alright? So like, I know that it's not a nosebleed. You don't lose that much blood. Unless you're me, but that's a whole other story, okay? Why is the book covered in blood? Someone bled all over it. That's not even sanitary. Plus, you know, concerning, especially considering the reputation this place has. Someone explain it.